Not that I'm expecting anything big, but there is a little bit of a reason why there could be at least initially a little bit of a jump in the Muln automotive stock today. But more importantly, where is Lawrence Hardge? Hi again, everyone. Hope you're doing really well. So today is going to be the first day in a little while that Muln Automotive has traded off the SSR list, so the short seller restriction list. And this is sort of interesting because obviously the stock has been falling these 2.5 or basically 3 sessions that the stock has been on this list. So in that time, there has been no like short selling trading going on. That doesn't mean short sellers couldn't put in new orders, but they just couldn't cash it out on an uptick or basically at a profit. However, because that restriction is lifted, short sellers can now actually get back into the stock. And obviously when a short seller wants to finish their trade, they actually have to buy the stock. So what we might see is we might actually see an initial bit of buying action as short sellers try to clear positions, which have clearly gone from, the stock being over $1 to almost just about 95 cents, I think was the close of trade yesterday. And that's, obviously going to be them cashing in some profit. And that might, as a result, because people want to try and buy in and make that profit, we could see a bit of a jump in the stock. Now, there is a little bit of other short data that kind of lends a bit of support to this thesis too. Because if you look at the current days to cover for Muln Automotive, it's actually less than half a day for short positions to cover up. So that's going to put a bit of pressure on quite a few shorts to cover. Looking at the numbers now in the short selling situation, the short percentage of the float shorted is now down to just over 10%. And we still have a strong borrow fee of 120%. And if you look at the shorts available, there has been a little bit of action already there this morning with the number of shorts available having actually reduced from 300,000 to 250,000. So that's actually a sign that we're actually seeing some more shorts try to hedge bets. So the shorts are thinking that they're going to see a bit more downward movement in the stock, obviously based on that number there. Although it could also be a matter of that some people made their shorts no longer available made their stocks unavailable for shorting. Now, switching on to the second topic I want to talk about in this video, it's like, where exactly has our catalyst machine Lawrence Hardge gone? Obviously his last post was talking about all the deals that they're doing in the Middle East. Maybe we can call him Lawrence of Arabia, and perhaps he's gone lost in the desert since we haven't heard from him for 3 days. But I think one of the things a lot of people in Muln are holding out for is to see what he actually can deliver in terms of the big long-winded promises he's been giving. Like, he hasn't given us any specific details. We've had hints of a $10 billion Saudi Arabia deal. We've had hints of multiple deals across the Middle East. And we've also had hints of, partnership with a large international automotive company. So, and he sort of said some of these things are going to start coming. Well, he didn't say this, but he's kind of hinted that May is going to be a big month. And obviously if you connect the dots, it means that something big is going to come from these negotiations that he's been involved with. Now, in terms of his role in Muln, he's only sort of a vice president of, I can't remember what the division is of one of the companies, but he is the joint CEO of the MAEO project. So my guess is that what he's working on is going to actually be related to the MAEO project, which would mean obviously the EMM device, which helps utilize the battery life in pretty much any EV vehicle and makes it get a greater life and also a faster charging time. So my guess is whatever he announces, if there is anything at all, is going to come from that. Now, I think Muln stockholders are kind of, obviously probably worn a little bit thin of Lawrence because, he's kind of sort of promised a lot and he's, a bit flaky in terms of how he is in social media. And I think I think what it is, he's an authentic guy. And given that he's got kind of a senior corporate role, it doesn't quite, the way he carries himself doesn't quite suit that role. And I guess it's a tough one. And I think also talking about him, I think like he listens to what other people say about him. He always is constantly saying about how he's getting criticism and things like that. And he obviously listens to what people say. I wouldn't be surprised if he listens to this. Lawrence, if you're listening, good luck. We really hope you can deliver for us. But, at the same time, I feel that he might take some of that negative criticism to heart. And that could be why he kind of goes, AWOL online quite a bit. And I think we might be in one of those AWOL periods for him right now. Anyway, it's pre-market Wednesday. We're about a little bit over an hour to a market open. The stock is looking slightly down. but it's only marginally, so it's going to be very interesting to see how things go. Another stock that I follow on here quite closely is Excel Technologies, similar company that has like pretty bad financials. Not similar in the sense that they're an EV company, but similar poor financial situation. Difference is that they are at a revenue stage because they already do over $1 billion in revenue, but they just saddled with mountains of debt. And they've been on the SSR list as well. And interestingly, and they've also just come off a reverse stock split. And interestingly, when they yesterday, when they came off the SSR list, they actually outperformed the market off no real reason at all. Different underlying fundamentals for the company there as well. Yeah. Cool. Oh, actually, one other thing I do want to talk about. There's been all this talk about the dilution. And again, I haven't seen anything to confirm the $20 million of shares worth saying that was sold on Monday that people were saying. So I still haven't seen anything about it. One thing I want to make a bit of a comment on, because there has been a couple of people talking about dilution. Now, dilution's an interesting one because you can interpret it in a few different ways. And, people immediately think, oh, selling more shares, the value of my share is going down. Not actually necessarily. So in the sense, so if Mullen is selling more shares, say they sell $20 million worth of shares and they sell it at the, the market price, so it does depend on what the execution price of the shares is. But what that is actually moving an asset into the company. So if you have a share price where, before any shares are sold, where the net asset value is lower than, what the share price is, which is quite common, by raising something like cash, that's actually boosts the underlying value. And it's a very obviously liquid asset that the company holds. Now, obviously, the other considerations is what's going to happen with whatever cash they get from those share sales. But actually, it's only if they're going to be spending all that money on, expenses, which aren't going to deliver any results or build any assets in the company, does that change the underlying value of the stock in any sort of drastically negative way. So you can kind of look, it is another way of looking at it. Obviously, there's a few ways that you can value a stock, but it is something worth considering that just because they're selling more shares doesn't necessarily mean it changes the underlying value of your stock. But yes, it does create more shares in circulation. Anyway, I won't go into it too much here, but we'll leave it at that. But just because people are saying that they're selling more shares, even if they have sold more shares, it's not necessarily a super negative thing. Obviously does have negative connotations, but yeah, anyway, I'll leave the video out there. I've got to get ready for the market to open. I hope you're all having a great day. Let me know your thoughts on what's going to happen with Muln today. Are we going to finally see a bit of a bounce, or do you reckon it's just further downhill? Also, yesterday was really cool. Someone dropped their headlines about the fleet solutions deal that Mullen signed yesterday in the comments. That was where I first found out. So if you see any news about Mullen, drop in the comments below. Until next time, everyone, may the market trade in your favor. Cheers.